Right. So we've heard about the war on talent, and over the last year or so, we're now calling it the global skills crisis. And one of the ways that you can tackle this crisis in your organization or maybe across the globe is through strategic workforce planning. And skills fit really neatly hand in hand with that. So we're here with Jo, who can explain to us a little bit more about what is strategic workforce planning and what's the big deal about it.
Yeah, so SWP essentially at its core is it enables you to achieve your business goals by having the right skills and people in the right place at the right time. And it sounds more complex than it is. So it's really in the beginning, it's you're trying to understand your current state. What is your baseline essentially? What skills do you currently have? What does your workforce look like? And also look at the external data that you have. And then you need to think, well, what skills do we need in the future? Which is going to be your demand. And then also we need to forecast what type of supply there's going to be, which is where this labor market and that skills shortage really comes into play. Because then we will assess, okay, what is that gap between the supply and the market and the skills that you will need to be successful and reach your business objectives. So if you are an organization that's very growth focused, then you might need more skills because you're growing as an organization. And SWP can help you assess which skills do you need, when will these skills be critical in the essence that there's going to be a short supply, and then also what can you do to ensure that you have those skills when you need them, and also have the right people so that fit within the culture of your organization. So it's a very holistic approach to the skills.
So super simple then, just an easy job, knowing your exact skills you've got, what you need in the future and everything to do with that. It sounds complicated. I think it is quite complicated. Where does skills fit into this? Because I think there's job-based strategic workforce planning, and then there is skills-based. And, obviously today we're talking about skills.
So I think it really depends on the business context that within which your organization operates. So it depends also on the business objective that you're trying to reach. So we would always recommend that we first start with what is your business objective, and that's why it's strategic workforce planning and not just workforce planning, because we really closely need to align it with what does the business actually need. And quite honestly, usually it is skills. I mean, skills is what sets most companies apart from each other. And as jobs are becoming more complex and they're ever changing, it's really we need to think about what skills do we need in future versus what jobs, because jobs are constantly changing. Sorry. So if we think that within SWP looks 3 to 4 years into the future, well, if we're forecasting for a job now, that might not be relevant in 2-3 years. But the skills, those might actually be relevant. So for instance, if we think about Gen AI, it might not be as relevant in your organization now, but for certain organizations, we can think in the future, in 2 years, super relevant. How do we make sure that you have those skills? And sometimes it could also be other skills. So, yeah.
Amazing. So it kind of informs not only your hiring, but also kind of your upskilling in-house and all of those kind of other areas as well, doesn't it?
It informs your entire talent landscape and your experience. Because if you think about it, SWP forms your philosophy on talent and your talent management practices. So once you understand what type of gap you will have in the future, you then need to think, well, what can I do to make sure that we have those skills? And those interventions can go from succession planning to also think, how do we retain staff? Do we need to, here are the Bs, which famously, I think the most Bs I've ever heard was 30. The lowest I've heard was 3, so we can definitely do a whole entire series on that as well. But I think the most common ones that most people would be familiar with is the build, buy, borrow, and newly bought. So those are certain lenses that you can put on that, and that will inform your entire end-to-end employee experience from hiring all the way through to the exit.
Wow, thank you so much, Jo. It's definitely shed a light for me, and I'm sure for lots of other people as well. Continue watching the series. We've got a lot of other parts, and strategic workforce planning touches on all of them, but we will be doing a deep dive into all the different parts of the employee lifecycle.